What does it mean when one of the world's largest institutional investors is buying physical silver? We're going to cover that in this video. And is there a dark side, a negative to the fact that one of the world's largest, or maybe it's the world's largest institutional investor, is accumulating physical silver? And when we look at it through the lens of other things going on right now, what does it mean that silver, gold, and platinum are moving from the west to the east? What's going on at the Comex? There's some interesting developments there that we're going to touch on. And at the end, we'll pull it all together and see if we still feel good, warm, and fuzzy about our investment in physical silver, gold, and platinum. So who are we talking about? We're talking about the institution that put the word institution into institutional investor, BlackRock themselves. As far as I know, the world's biggest institutional investor, and they are buying physical silver. Now, this was a big news story 3-4 months ago. They bought a bunch of PSLV, the Sprott Physical Silver Trust. That's run by Eric Sprott out of Canada. Every dollar that goes into that trust, they call them units, not shares up there, is used to buy actual physical silver. And it was announced that BlackRock had made a rather large major purchase of silver at that time. Now, 3 months later, we get some new news. Let me read this to you. This comes from the SRS Rocco report. BlackRock increased its PSLV holdings to 21.6 million shares. Actually, I think they're called units, but nonetheless shares for those of us in the USA that think in terms of shares in the second quarter of 2023. BlackRock PSLV holdings in Q1 were 20.5 million shares. So about a 5% increase, which isn't earth-shattering, right? But they didn't sell. A lot of people thought, oh, they bought it for some temporary short-term reason. No, they didn't sell during the quarter, and they actually increased their share of a number of shares of PSLV or units that they hold. But what's significant about this? Let's think about a couple interesting things. BlackRock owns the SLV ETF. So why are they buying PSLV, their competitor? And let's talk about briefly the difference between PSLV and SLV. Again, PSLV is run by Sprott Asset Management, which was founded by Eric Sprott in Canada, highly respected company. Every dollar that goes into the PSLV is used to buy actual physical silver. It's audited, it's for real, it's trusted, it's been around forever. That's the vehicle that the people at BlackRock have been purchasing. But it's so strange when you think about BlackRock themselves owns the SLV. Thank you, Craig Edmonds, for the super chat. Much appreciated, my friend. Good morning, brother. Good morning. Why is BlackRock, who owns the SLV, buying the PSLV? Well, SLV has been the subject of much skepticism and criticism over the years by the precious metals community. A lot of people think that it's more of just a pure derivative product, a paper product, and that possibly, I'm not saying this, right, because I'm not a guru in this area, but some of the gurus have told us that SLV doesn't really own the physical silver. It's an ETF, and that it's more paper-oriented. So the fact that BlackRock, isn't this strange, that owns the SLV is buying the PSLV? I don't know. To me, let me know how you think about that. But does that tell you something? And why is BlackRock, the world's largest institutional investor, buying physical silver? Now, 21.6 million shares, that equals out to, I don't know, what, about $170 million? So it's not like this is a massive percentage of BlackRock's balance sheet or investment portfolio, but the fact that they're buying physical silver can only be seen through a positive light. Or is there a possible negative? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's just talk about the silver market and institutional investors. I want to point out two things. We've been getting more and more positive reports from the big companies, the big banks, the big institutions, Bank of America, Citibank, TD Securities, even JP Morgan. Whether it's silver or gold, we're getting estimates, we're getting forecasts from these big companies that are more in line with what we think the case should be. We're hearing from JP Morgan that 2024, we could see record prices for gold. And you know my stance on that. Once we get to a new record in the gold price, once we get to 2150, I get excited. I'm sorry. I need to keep my blood pressure down. I just got back from the doctor. Once we get to 2150 gold, what do you think's going to happen? You know what's going to happen. I told you what's going to happen. We're going to get to 2600, lickety split. And what's that going to do to the silver price and the platinum price? You know what that's going to do, but that's not even the most interesting thing to consider when we're talking about big institutional investors, because it's a well-known fact. Like, these guys are all fancy, Ivy League educated, blah, blah, blah. I'm an institutional. Thank you, my friend. Henny, is that you? Hey, thank you for the super chat, Henny. Man, super appreciated. Thank you so much. The big institutions, they act fancy, they act smart, right? They put on airs, blah, 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 go to the country club, all that good stuff. But the reality is, here's the reality. They all copy off each other. It's a well-known fact. It's monkey see, monkey do. So think about this. Think about this. When the world's largest institutional investor, BlackRock, is buying physical silver, when they're buying PSLV, they are buying physical silver. What are all the other? Everybody watches what BlackRock does, right? They're like the Michael Jordan of institutional investing. Everybody's watching. Everybody said, oh, they bought silver back in the first quarter. Now everybody's seeing that they're still holding that silver, and they actually added 5% more on top of it, potentially. What we could see, right, as more and more people, and we know just the general macro environment that's so supportive for silver and gold and platinum for that matter as well, but we're just going to talk about silver right now. If we start to get a move, right, and it doesn't have to be big, guys, it doesn't have to be big. I mean, a little tiny improvement, right? Right now, right, if you look at the amount of money that's in silver, gold, and platinum, on an A to F scale, it gets a D minus, 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 minus. Not a complete F, because it's not a zero, but it's a D minus, 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 minus. If we just move up to let's just say a D plus, we're going to have 2, 3, 4 times as much money coming into the precious metal sector, and we're going to think it's Christmas every day. It is going to happen. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. Don't make any financial decisions based on what I just said. I think it is going to happen. And I think when we look at the evidence about companies like BlackRock, what are they doing, right? When we look at what the big institutions are starting to say about silver and gold, I think that we're going to see it happen, and that we're going to have some bright, sunny days for the precious metals. Now, is there a dark side to all this? Is there potentially a drawback to BlackRock owning that physical silver? The only thing I can think of, and I don't want to be negative, I don't want to scare you, right? But we got to look at both sides of the coin. Pardon the pun. Thank you, Shadow Work. Is that they could use that big position, right? 21 million shares, according to the SRS Rocco report. And we appreciate them reporting on this on X, which used to be known as Twitter. But they could use those 20 million shares, that $170 million worth of silver, to dump it on the market if they wanted to get the effect of a quick price drawdown in silver. But I don't think that's really enough to have that effect. Now, another interesting thing about PSLV, remember, and I've done videos about PSLV, it's an electronic way to own real physical silver. It's really there. Sprott has a awesome reputation. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not selling you. I'm not making any recommendation. But if you do, comparative research on PSLV and SLV. It's a top-notch product. But what's interesting, hold on. What's interesting for you and me is that, you know what? There's not options. You can't short, as far as I know, PSLV, not like SLV, which is just like, again, a derivative-based product. So it's getting interesting. Now, when we think a little more broad terms about silver, gold, platinum right now, we also know it's being recognized everywhere. Guys, the silver, the gold, and the platinum, it's moving from the West, which is where most of you are watching me from right now, wherever in the world you are. It's moving from the West, and it's moving to the East. Okay, it's moving to India, moving to China, moving to the BRICS countries, moving to the other 6 countries. Can we remember? Let's do a little test. We know the BRICS countries, but what about the 6 countries that just signed up to join the BRICS in January of 2024, just 4 short months from now? That would be Saudi Arabia. They don't have any money or any resources. No, they're a tiny little pipsqueak country. Iran, they don't have anything. The United Arab Emirates, no, they don't have any. Well, maybe they got a little oil. Oh, yeah. Argentina, yeah, a country flush with resources. Egypt, I don't know a lot about Egypt. I'm not going to lie to you, but I imagine they've got some resources as well. And Ethiopia, which is the dark horse country, I'm telling you, I talked to someone this is important for you to know. Ethiopia is up and coming and doing very, very well, has some massive infrastructure projects underway. These like man-made rivers. I was talking to John Forrest Little from the Pickaxe. He knows, and I'm going to be talking to him again this Friday. Anyway, those countries, this is about silver and gold, not man-made rivers, right? Right? Not ding-dongs. Nope. Silver and gold is moving, and platinum, from the West to the East. And we got even more little clues given to us, right, from the Comex, our friends at the Comex. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Pimbex, right there, Pimbex, the online bullion dealer. They gave me this 10-ounce Britannia that I'm going to give away this Sunday, September 3rd. If you want a chance to win it, go to this video's description when we're done, and there's a link you can click on, a short video to watch, and all you have to do is leave a comment in that video saying, thanks, Pimbex, and you're automatically entered into the drawing again this Sunday, September 3rd at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be a big 10-ounce giveaway, and we got 100 thumbs up. Thank you, guys. The thumbs up mean a lot to me. That helps get the word out to the channel. Thank you, Shadow Work. Man, I'm telling you, you're too good to me. You guys are all too good to me. Please subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. Takes 2 seconds. Look, I'm going to ring the bell twice. That's for you giving it a thumbs up, and I appreciate it. Let's just touch on the Comex one more time, because within the context of what's going on in the silver market, we had a huge increase in registered inventory on the Comex last week. People are saying, right? Nobody ever knows for sure, but people are saying what that signifies is the fact that somebody's buying a huge amount of silver and wants to take, delivery. Very interesting. Who do you think wants to take delivery? On what is it? Was like 8 million ounces of silver increase in the registered. I guess soon we'll find out. But guys, what's going on at the Comex? And think about this. Think about. Hello, Darcy. Have a happy day. Yeah, we're having a good day. It's so cool, you guys. We got over 300 people on a Monday morning in the basement, and you know what? There's the number one most important person who's here, and that's you. So thank you, guys. That's right, you watching right now. You know, you're important to a lot of people. But we all come together because we love to talk about silver and gold. Now, what could happen to the Comex, right? If these institutions start to wake up, if a few more people start to wake up. People have speculated about the demise of the Comex and the LBMA for decades, and we could be moving into that period right now. Stuart Englert, who wrote the book Rigged, okay, you can get it on Amazon. Go check it out yourself. You know, he told me, I said, well, when's it going to happen, Stuart? And he said, well, we've been waiting for 15 years. We've been waiting for a long, long time. But think of it like a bubble, right? It's delicate. It's fragile. Bubbles are beautiful. They're big. But boy, when they go instantly. And we could see that with the Comex and the LBMA. It's not out of the question, guys. And the other thing to consider as we think about that, what's the other big trend that we know going on besides the BRICS and those 6 countries that we have now memorized together, right? Those countries are all moving towards developing their own internal markets for selling real assets, oil, silver, gold, platinum, right? The what do they call it? Platinum group metals, all of it. We've got the Moscow World Standard, we've got the Shanghai Gold Exchange, and there's more and more coming online. They are going to overwhelm the Comex. They'll be setting the price. Please allow me a quick break to drink some water. That's competition. And what's going to happen? What could happen, right? As the world develops its own, Mother Nature always wins. As the Eastern world develops their own markets for silver, let's just talk about silver. And they start to say, you know what? Silver's not worth $24 an ounce. Silver's more worth like $34 an ounce. It's called arbitrage. People will immediately, that's an extreme example, but people will immediately start to buy silver from the Western exchanges and sell it on the Eastern markets. And that's what we mean by physical demand overwhelming the electronic markets. Because we know at the Comex, they trade like 30 contracts for each 1 real ounce of metal that they have in their vault. So it's going to be a very interesting ride. Is there a dark side to the BlackRock? Absolutely. Who knows what they're up to, right? We don't know. But we do know that they added last month, and that can only be looked at as a good thing. We also have here's some interesting bit of information about the silver market from Kitco. Let me read this to you. This is very interesting. Turkey, there's tons going on with gold in Turkey. I mean, it is absolutely nuts. All right, here's an article from Kitco. Silver sees improved positioning, technicals, and interest to go with its recent rally, according to another institution. You'll never guess this one, Wisdom Tree. Okay. Thank you, Abram. Abram Taylor's here, guys. From time to time, I'm able to give away a gold back, and that's thanks to Abram. So be sure to say thanks, Abram. Be sure to say thank you to CoinShop Chris, okay? CoinShop Chris does a lot. So does Neil. So does Mary. Sassy Silver's a big supporter of the channel. Annie is also Annie Oakley. Please say thanks to the moderators, guys. They do a wonderful job. And by the way, in the description of every video and live stream, there's some links if you want to learn more about our sponsor, Pimbex. If you want to know how to help support the channel, there's information about that there as well, and a lot of other links you can check out. Okay, here. Silver's 8% gain over the past week means, quote, silver is on the cusp of reversing all of the past month's losses. And the recent bearishness in the overall market is also quickly coming to an end. That's according to Nitesh Shah, head of commodities and macroeconomic research for Europe at Wisdom Tree. Okay, let me just read you a few more things. He said, Shaw also pointed out that silver investors, that's you and me, appear to be less negative. This is live, so when I got a cough, I got a cough. I apologize. Silver investors, less negative about the precious metals prospects, noting that the silver inventories at the London Bullion Market Association vaults, which declined by 28% in 2022, have stabilized and posted gains of 3% for the year through July of 2023. What's important about that? It indicates more institutional investors, didn't we just talk about that, are allocating to silver this year from a very low base last year. I'm going to read that again because that is critical for us to understand. The increase in the inventory, the slight increase at the LBMA, indicates more institutional investors are allocating to silver this year. So we have more institutional money coming into silver, BlackRock, other people. But that comes from a very low base last year, and we talked about that as well, right? The sentiment is so bad. D minus. All it's going to take is a little improvement, and Wisdom Tree is talking about that in this very article from Kitco, right? The institutions are starting to move money into silver. Guys, the silver boat is pretty darn small. The platinum boat is even smaller. The gold boat's a lot bigger, but there's not a lot of open seats on any of these boats. So as this big money, big groups of people are attempting to join us, it can get interesting really quick. Very interesting. Now, here's a little tidbit for you as well in regards to interest in the precious metals. I have noticed in the last couple of weeks a major uptick in viewership on Ron's Basement videos. And I can tell you, from having done this for a year and a half, every day, living this Ron's Basement, that when viewership goes up, that usually coincides with a rising price in silver and gold and platinum. And we haven't really seen the price shoot up yet. So just to share with you that little basic piece of information, it's interesting that more people, and I'm sure other precious metals related channels, are having the same experience. I have horrible allergies. I apologize. If we go back to the Comex, okay, our friends, the electronic exchange, the Comex, right? They set the price for silver. We talked about this yesterday. We're going to start referring to Comex as Walmart, right? Because they got the lowest prices in town for silver, and they keep trying to do price rollbacks. Okay, well, the last time that we had this change in registered inventory that we had last week, the last time that happened was right as the major price increase had occurred. That was in August of 2020 when silver had gone from $19 per ounce up to and surpassing briefly $30 per ounce. So when we look at what's going on, institutional interest, Comex data, the fact that we know that there's a ton of metal moving from the west to the east, it's getting just plain super interesting out there. Let's go to the comments real quick and see what's going on. So what is going on? That's what we're trying to figure out. We're piecing this together. Fiat is not money, says Gene Richards. Gene, do you really believe that? You mean this paper isn't real? Can you just wait for a second? Think about this. I want you to really take a deep breath, because this is, something but maybe something you don't really know. Is it not just absolutely crazy that you can convert this paper, literally, or whatever it's made of? Somebody corrected me once. It's not really paper, but essentially paper. You can convert this into real metal. Yes. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Do you want a stack of paper, or do you want a stack of metal? I think I know your answer. I'm not even going to ask you to type that one in the comments. Do you want a stack of paper, or do you want a stack of metal, right? The drama's going up. Yeah, guys, absolutely, the drama is going up, right? We are facing, right now, where we stand, we are in a situation, look, quickly, $34 trillion in debt, a $1.4 trillion deficit, an economy that's stagnant. We could go through a whole litany of things that's wrong. Things are delicate and fragile. We are going to have more crisis. We are going to have a further deterioration in the value of the dollar, right? I mean, everybody knows it. Look what happened think about this. You may not think about this, but this can give you the warm and fuzzies as a gold, silver, platinum investor. Think about what happened since 1971. But this is so key and critical to understand. When Nixon temporarily took us off the gold standard, that was roughly 50 years ago, okay? During that 50-year period, the United States enjoyed a 5-decade-long period where we were quote unquote prosperous, where the United States ruled the world, where the economy expanded, everything was rosy, right? We were the hegemony, or however the heck you pronounce that word, hegemony, I don't know, whatever. We ruled the world, okay? Let that sink in. From 1970 to right now, we ruled the world. Those were the best of times. Those were good times. What happened to the value of the U.S. dollar? I was born right around 1970, okay? What happened to the U.S. dollar during that period that was the best of times? It went down. So now, think about this shift. As you look out over the next 50 years, with everything going on in the world, all the debt, deficit, all that, internally in the United States, political strife, and then you think about the fact that more than half the world's population already right now has aligned themselves and has said, we want to move away from the dollar. What do you think is going to happen to the value of the U.S. dollar over the next 50 years? It did crappy during the best of times. What do you think is going to happen in the next 50 years? Even if they continue to be the best of times, we know it's going to go down in value. But what if things change? And I think most of us think things will change. We got 200 thumbs up. I appreciate that. That is awesome. And wow, that feels good, man. Thank you, guys. We got 400 people here on a Monday morning. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. The dollar isn't going to be, Sharon, we can't argue with that. I know it's like it's hard for us to comprehend because it always has been, but at some point in the future, and I bet that if we asked Jerome, what do you think Jerome Powell would say if we asked him? Jerome, is the dollar going to last? It's not going to last forever. Will it last throughout my lifetime? Maybe. I'd say maybe likely there'll be the dollar, but is it going to last? Maybe not. We don't know. No other paper fiat currency has ever lasted forever. There's like 4,000 of them that have come and gone. So, we can say what we want. I don't want to be a doomsayer. I'm not saying it's going to happen this week or next week. But like I said, if you look over the last 50 years, when things were really good for the United States, during that period, it went down. What would happen if we go into a period that's not real good, where we're not the hegemony, not your hegemony, whatever you want to call it, not the world dominant power, where the world said enough is enough. And a lot of top people are saying that, right? The world is said enough is enough. They aren't talking about it on the Children's News Network, CNN, okay? They aren't going to talk about it there. They're not going to talk about it on Fox. They're not going to talk about it on MSNBC or the Today Show. But the reality is, for those of us who care to pull our heads out of the sand and want to see what's going on in the world, we realize that things are changing. I mean, President Xi and President Putin, 5 months ago, had a meeting, and that was like one of the key takeaways as they were departing each other as friends. They said the world is changing like never before during our lifetimes, and we are at the forefront of it. So it's going to be absolutely breathtaking as we head into this next, I would even say 10 years, right? I mean, we want to protect our families. We want to protect ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves first, and then our friends and our family, right? How do we do that? Well, I can say most likely you, since you're here, are a person who wants to be monetarily prepared. And the way that one way that we can do that is by holding physical metals, right? For me, I also do some investing into precious metal mining stocks. And people ask me all the time, I'm very transparent about the precious metal mining stocks that I own. Their symbols are always listed with the links that I talked about earlier in the description of every single video, okay? Hey, the air conditioner went off. When you're in Ron's basement, the washing machine could be running, the air conditioner clicks on, who the heck knows, right? Oh, brother. So let's talk about the Fed for a second, because nothing impacts the price of silver and gold like the Federal Reserve and our old friend Jerome Powell. And there was a lot of analysis done over the weekend on this Jackson Hole Summit and the speech that Powell gave. My first impression, did you notice when you watched Powell's speech, and maybe you didn't watch it, but I'm telling you, when I watched it, he seemed very nervous to me. He even said, we're navigating by the stars under cloudy skies. He also said that made some statement about we're going to proceed with great caution or something along those lines. Way, 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 way different than how he spoke last year at the very same summit, where he said there's going to be pain. We're going to have to inflict pain on the U.S. economy. I'm telling you, I think the Fed is maybe got one more shot, one more bullet in their barrel, and then they're done. The banks can't take it. Okay, the banks can't take it. The economy can't take higher rates. And when the people that don't look around the corner, hey, Sharon, thank you so much. Thank you, Sharon. You always are so generous. But when the people like Sharon, right? When the people like Robert Federer, the toilet's overflowing, God, I hope not, right? That look around the corner, that look out 6 months, a year into the future, realize that the Fed can't really do much more from a monetary policy perspective. That's when we're really going to catch a tailwind for the silver price and gold price. Hey guys, it's going to be fun. I'll be back tomorrow to talk some more. Okay, 10 a.m. Central Time. Take care, and I'll see you soon.